historical film, a super progressive movie it's called, which expands on her wildly popular, please explain, cartoon series. Here she is.
Oh, great! Another day in progressive paradise. Good morning, Nam. Good morning, Rainbow. Good morning, fellow white straight males. Good morning, rats. Good morning, mold. Good morning, human remains. Good morning, Lance. Oi, no optimism. That's toxic positivity. I'm sorry. It's time for your morning apologies. Oh, yes! I love begging for forgiveness. Oh.
Sorry about that. I thought it was a grab of Pauline Hanson there, but it was the film, which is being received very well. To talk about this more, One Nation National Executive Manager Lee Hanson joins us, and the Head of Advocacy at Women's Forum Australia, Stephanie Bastian. Well, it's a movie-length film. As I say, it's doing well. The polls are in your favour. And even a #1 single has come out of that movie. I mean, I'm interested in your take here. Lee, did you see this coming even as, you know, a couple of months ago? Did you think you would be where you are now with the back end of January 2026?
Isn't it fantastic, Peter? And what a great timing in regards to the rise in the polls. Am I surprised that the movie has been so well received and the feedback has been phenomenally amazing and popular about just how accurate it represents our woke society today and gives people permission to be heroes, not victims, as we say. So I'm not surprised. And sadly, I'm also not surprised that it has the other parties running scared. So as a result, I'm not sure if you've heard today, but our Melbourne screening tomorrow in the cinema has been cancelled. We knew that this was a risk. We knew that with the pressure and the rise in the polls, people would be afraid. But it actually just shows exactly to the point what the movie's about the woke society today. That people are afraid to allow people freedom of speech, freedom of critical thinking. And actually what it's going to do is have the opposite effect of what they feel. Instead of shutting us down, it's actually going to create more interest. It's actually going to help us rise in the polls even more because people are curious. So thank you very much. Well done.
Why the cancellation? Why the cancellation, Lee? What's been the reason?
Look, and this is the thing, they skate around the reason as to why, but we know what the reason is why. They're afraid of the backlash.
So they're afraid. By the cinema? It's done by the cinema?
Correct. Correct. The cinema in Melbourne have reneged on their contract agreements less than 48 hours prior to the screening, which is a shame.
Well, it's only going to make more and more news stories out there about the film and kick it along. I don't know if they'll get the outcome they wanted. Stephanie, okay, you've heard all of this. You've read all the reports that we've all been reading about this rise in the One Nation vote. Where does the coalition, even the former coalition, let's put them back together at least for the arguments of the debate, where do they go from here?
Well, I think the coalition at the moment are suffering from a severe lack of leadership. I mean, every election we hear how they've lost or almost lost because, you know, they're 2% too far to the right, but they're going to be obliterated because of how far to the left they've gone. I mean, I think the bill last week, the free speech bill, was an absolute debacle. It should never have been supported, particularly having received it the day that they voted on it. And now the coalition's fallen apart as a result with the Nats walking away. I think they need to go back to ground zero. I think they need to have a leadership ballot because Susan Lee's clearly not bringing the party together. She seems to be indecisive. But from the way it looks here, they're in a much worse state than when Dutton lost the election.
So let's go from Australians, wonderful Australians like Harry Schuster, the farmer from South Australia that we just met a moment ago, and let's look what other Australians have done in and around Australia Day, because we've got some vision now of the War Memorial in Melbourne's Outer East being smashed with sledgehammers. That's out there publicly. We've got those scenes out of Brisbane of people burning the Australian flag. Okay, Lee, you're in charge. What would you do here?
Hold them to account. They would be charged with the full force of the law and they would be held to account for their actions. We need to stamp out this hateful behaviour. This is not okay. Burning our flag and what that represents for hate for our country and our people here should not be tolerated, nor vandalism of any way, shape or form is okay, let alone to our war memorials, who are those veterans who have fallen for us to give us our rights and our freedom of speech and safety in this country. So to spit on that and to vandalise that, I am disgusted, absolutely disgusted. But what is more the case, Peter, is that they are cowards. The fact that they do this in the cloak of night with face coverings and don't show who they are doesn't mean they're strong or they're powerful. It actually just shows the complete opposite. They are weak, they are gutless and they are cowards. And I hope to goodness we are able to identify who they are, and they should be held accountable full force.
Steph, it's interesting, it is about leadership. When I was in Florida for a brief period over Christmas, I was on a highway, and obviously they've got a Republican governor there in charge, Ron DeSantis, who means business. Nowhere on that highway, and I was on it for about an hour and a half, did I see graffiti. There were patches where there had been graffiti, but they were all painted over. And it struck me, and it shouldn't strike me because we should be in a country here in Australia where our streets are looking as good as they should, that there was no graffiti. And I think we've just become so used to Australia seeing this degradation of our public land, our public monuments, the side of the road. I mean, I could go on, potholes and more. We've let the place down. We've let it go to seed. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think more concerningly is the rise in the radical left, the acceptance of the radical left. And we saw this when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Left-wing commentators around Australia almost suggested the ends justified the means. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing radical people who hate our country, who are destroying our monuments, they're burning our flag, this anti-colonisation mantra that's risen out of the pro-Palestinian rallies. There's just this widespread acceptance of trashing our country, trashing our culture with no consequences. We all now have to live under oppressive hate speech laws, anti-vilification laws. I'd abolish the lot tomorrow, but if you're going to oppress a nation, at least make it fair and equal and hold everyone account to the same standard. No one would get away with burning an Indigenous flag, nor should they. It would be vilification against that group of people. But likewise, the Australian flag represents Australians, whether they're First Nations, immigrants, or the descendants of settlers and convicts. It's just a disgrace.
All right, I will leave it there. Thank you, ladies. We can still say ladies here on Sky News. I will mention something too. The Launceston